Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Football Retro Podcast. I am your host Johnny and I'm joined here once again by my co-hosts Adasi and Akram. How you doing, guys?
Hey Johnny, nice to be here again as always.
How you going, man? Doing all right?
All good, all good. So today we'll be talking about the 98 World Cup, the France World Cup. I think we chose this topic to begin with because it's a little bit of a special one to all of us. It was a special World Cup in itself. It was probably, in my opinion, the best in the 90s, and we'll get more into that later on. So I'll ask you guys, what was your overall feeling of this World Cup? What do you think of the World Cup in general compared to others, and what did you get out of it?
For me, this World Cup means a lot to me because it was the first World Cup that I remember completely, from qualifying stages through to the final.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you.
Oh, sure.
That's an understatement. Now, I've been told, and we'll test this later on, so stay tuned, guys. I've been told, and I'm hoping to prove him wrong, that Adasi over here, my friend, can remember every score of every single game in the World Cup.
Sadly, or however you want to put it, that's true.
Why sadly? You're a little embarrassed about it.
People think that I had no life.
All right, so we had...
All right.
People think I'm a nerd, but
we had a little test before the podcast, because I didn't believe him, but he was able to tell me the goal scorers and the score of the Morocco-Norway game.
Group A.
Group A. Okay.
Like if I push him a little bit harder, he'll tell me the attendance. Anyways, so you're saying that it's a special one because you're able to remember all of it. So go on.
Yeah, so just the World Cup in general, France 98, the qualifying stage through to the final. I was 9-10 years old in that period of time, and I just remember everything about it leading up to it, buying the preview magazines, watching the lead-up games, the friendlies, reading up about all the teams, the star players to look out for, and just full on getting into it. SBS's coverage was second to none in that tournament, showing all the games in early hours of the morning. It was just a beautiful tournament for me personally. Quality matches, quality players, memorable moments, fantastic goals. Just all round epic World Cup for me. Probably the best World Cup I've watched to date in my lifetime.
To date?
Yes.
Wow, that's a big take.
It is, yeah. I think I remember 94 World Cup in bits and moments. 98 World Cup was the first World Cup I watched in full. And since then, like I think till this moment, France 98 was the best World Cup for me.
Wow, big call.
It is. But I just, something about it is always special. I get always nostalgic about it, thinking about it and watching the highlights of that tournament.
Okay.
Epic moments.
Akram.
Well, Johnny, I got to tell you, man, it is one of the most important World Cups that we've had in football's history. For me, why is because I think that what started off in 94 and then continued on to greater heights in 98 was the technology, the ability to reach more people than ever before. Internet age had finally come up. And I think to marry what Adasi was saying to my point is that it was also a World Cup full of great quality. We had a brand new World Cup winner in France that year, and it on their home soil. So I think that made it such a historic moment. And it's a World Cup that really created a lot of legacies. Zinedine Zidane really came out into the world after that World Cup. We had the Brazilian team that started off very strong, very exciting football, and unfortunately fell short. So, it was a World Cup that I think has been very pivotal for a lot of very important players and a lot of very important nations moving forward.
Interesting. Look, I agree in regards to, I think it was a new era for marketing as well.
Absolutely. The theme song for the World Cup, 98,
Yeah.
everyone who remembers it now.
The night commercial, Brazil, the airport.
Yeah. So the commercial, the ads, the
That's
players.
one of my favourite commercials, though. What a commercial.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So much fun.
Oh, yeah.
The jerseys, the design of the jerseys.
yeah.
That's the thing about the jerseys. Like back then, everyone had a distinct, unique style of jersey, even though they had the same kit supply. You look now, for example, Nike jerseys for international teams, they're all the same, just a different coat of paint. Back then, they had that distinction of them, different trimming, different colours, different patterns, and all that. I think they stood out, and people remember that stuff. You know, you look back on Facebook or social media, you see jerseys from France '98, old school. Oh, wow, I remember that. It sticks in your mind, and I think that's why it's also special as well.
You have those jerseys as well where you look at them and it makes you remember a certain player.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And I think nowadays what you're saying, Adasi, is just that I think jerseys today, a lot of companies, Nike, etc., play it a bit too safe with the designs. And then, I mean, let's be honest, some companies go a bit too risky and a bit too funny with certain jerseys today.
Well, let's look for the Russia World Cup when you had teams like, is Spain with Adasi?
Yeah, Spain, Germany,
Colombia,
Adasi,
Argentina. Yeah. So they had similar styles, just different colours. It was a retro style, but
Adasi were a bit more distinctive, but Nike, they're the same, just different coat of paint. There's nothing
except for the Nigeria one.
that stood out of everyone. That was the best jersey of that World Cup. But
I mean, to be honest, we could do a whole podcast on the clothing companies that have created jerseys for football. But I think nowadays it's just the fact that Adidas really wants to represent and let everyone know that it's an Adidas property.
I'm an Adidas guy.
Sorry?
I'm an Adidas
guy. I'm an Adidas person. I'm Adidas.
I mean, I've been wearing Adidas boots for a long time. I tried Nike ones. I have to stick to the Predators.
Fair enough, man.
Predators and their Copa Mundials.
I'm a Kmart guy.
But I think as well that France '98, touching on it, I think at the time
he's all serious, John. He's all serious.
International football, I feel like there was a certain passion and prestige about international football back then. You see now in this modern era, day and age, you know, international break comes up and like, oh damn, we're not an international break, you know.
And you know why
players are getting tired from playing in summer competitions.
And you know why that is? It's because club football has taken more priority.
That's
over
right.
national team.
That's
from
right.
a money marketing perspective.
Yeah, but clubs own players, and I think Adasi is right. There was more prestige for the players to go play for their country.
Absolutely.
Whereas now, the clubs own the players in regards to we are the ones that pay them, and the players don't want to lose that. As much as you want to play for your country, you don't want to lose the $500,000 you make in a week.
Well, that's right. I mean, look, you know, clubs still technically own players back in '98, and they did pay them. But I just think the marketing opportunities that players have now,
and the amount of money now in football,
the amount of money that they get from their contracts, and you know what, the amount of money that football in general, FIFA and UEFA, put into club competition, it shows where their priority is.
Yeah, it's a shame because you know a lot of our greatest memories in football come from international football, like from World Cups and Euros and Copa Americas. And things like that.
I think national football, international football, I think is one of those things where because you as a player cannot choose your teammates, the owner of your team can't pick and choose your teammates. And in today's age, where we can buy and sell any player that you want if you are at certain clubs, I think international football does show you the true greats of the game because they have to rise above certain limitations that come with playing with your national team.
All right, so 98 World Cup. I think 98 World Cup, I think Croatia, I think Holland, I think Brazil. What teams stand out for you guys?
I think for me, Croatia, first time not only appearing in a World Cup, but the first time actually attempted to qualify since the breakup from Yugoslavia.
That's incredible.
Quality squad they had. Double Shuka.
He was the emblem. He was the emblem.
Zvonimir Boban,
that's right.
Robert Jani, Aljoša Asanovic. Great players, quality players playing for quality clubs in Europe at the time. They just played such great football, and also their jersey as well, recognisable with the red and white checkered shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except it was their away jersey that brought them more luck, given they won most of the games in the blue jersey they had.
Oh, really?
Just as a side fact. But they were great side to watch. And I also wonder what if about them, because one of their leading strikers, Alan Boksic, got injured just prior to the tournament. And if he was playing, you'd wonder whether they could have actually gone all the way and won the World Cup itself.
Big call. He
was a quality. He was at his peak in playing for Juventus at the time, if I remember correctly. And if him and Double Shuka were playing together, Could they have gone
Who
on and
knows what could have
beaten
happened?
France and then beaten Brazil in the final, an under-strength Brazil side in the final? Who knows?
That's true.
Imagine that. The first time trying to qualify, let alone appearing in the first World Cup. So yeah, they were great to watch. Double Shuka, golden boot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Six goals.
Yeah.
You wonder as well. Yeah, they took the lead against France in that semi-final, and then Boban lost the ball. And then their nemesis Lilian Thuram, came out with the 2 goals.
Fantastic effort, though.
First
from
goals
him.
ever.
What an iconic
for
performance
France,
from Lilian Thuram.
Snatches it for the host nation, and they ended up winning the bronze medal, beating quality Netherlands side. And also, what stood out for me for them, they got through a group that had Japan, Jamaica, also debutants, and Argentina. They won the first 2 games. They finished second. They beat Romania. In that second round, Devil Shuka penalty, had to take it twice. And then they beat Croatia in the quarterfinal. They beat Germany.
Big win.
3-0, yeah. Albeit against a German side that was aging. But still, to beat a caliber of Germany,
absolutely,
to beat them 3-0 is no mean feat.
100%.
I think Germany are like Brazil. Every World Cup they're dangerous. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. They got the pedigree, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. And Croatia coming third was a huge success, beating Netherlands, which leads on to my team, which is the Netherlands. The style of football that they played, the overall team quality that they brought. As we said in the last podcast we did, Ajax being one of the top teams of the decade, the nation and the nation was brimming with talent. Dennis Bergkamp, Clarence Seedorf, Mark Overmars, Patrick Kluivert, the list goes on.
It's one of those teams where you look at their lineup and you recognise, like we said before, pretty much every name in there.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, it's one of those teams where you look at it and go, how have they not won a World Cup yet? So for me, I think 98 World Cup for Netherlands is so important, so symbolic for a sad thing, which is their underperforming legacy.
So this might be another topic altogether, but why do you think that Holland's never won a World Cup?
Honestly, I'm sorry, Darcy. I was just going to
go for it. No.
Honestly, I just think it's 2 things. I think one is their commitment, their 110% commitment to attacking football has, I think, bit them in the wrong sides at the wrong times. I think that they've needed to bring in a bit more cynicism into their style of football. And at the same time, the second thing is I just think really bad luck, Johnny. Darcy, what do you reckon, man?
Yeah, I'd say a bit of bad luck, but also they've also had issues with self-implosion as well. Issues within their camps.
I get it, but I'm sorry. You're saying that it's that the commitment to attack.
Yes.
74 World Cup, they lost 2-1.
Yeah.
78 World Cup, they lost 3-1 in extra time. The game finished 1-1, and they hit the post in the 90th minute.
Okay.
So they could have won.
Yeah, absolutely.
2010 World Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 0-0 full time.
Yeah.
Iniesta scored in the...
True,
and Ryan Robin missed that 1-on-1.
Okay. 2014 World Cup. They lost on penalties to Argentina in the semi-final. Robin in the 90th minute could have won, and Mascherano made the tackle. So, yes, the commitment to the World Cup, the commitment to playing offensive.
Yeah.
But I think it's more
a
luck factor or a nerves or a lack of
mentality.
It's a mentality factor as well.
Don't get me wrong. I do think attacking football is overall statistically, I think it's been proven, and I think it's my opinion that I think attacking football is the more successful way to go in terms of playing football, in terms of ratcheting up victories. However, I do think that there has been some games and there's been opportunities where they could have closed out some of these games if you had added a couple more men to the back. I think you suggested a couple finals there, especially in the 70s, where if they played with a little bit more caution, they might have been able to finish off the game. You're right in terms of their commitment to attacking football has created a very strong nation full of rich history. But sometimes when you have an inflexible commitment to one style of football, there will be situations where you might have needed to be a bit more tactically versatile and be a little bit more flexible, Johnny.
And that's a problem in 2010. They were that style of defensive, just hard nut players.
True, but they didn't
got them to the final. But
Yeah,
they got
true.
a lot of critics as well.
They
for that.
did, but to be honest, to be fair, there, Darcy, they didn't really have the same kind of talent that they did in
Oh, no.
the 90s.
No, they did. They were saying they had talented players in 2010, but compared to 98, it was
And I do think that was a real outlier in terms of their history. I think 2010 was them definitely zigging when, most of the time they've zagged.
Yeah.
So look, I took you off topic here.
No.
But yes, Netherlands 98 was a very strong team.
Dennis
And
Bergkamp's
that-
goal against Argentina, one of the
I know.
best
No,
goals.
I don't think we need to talk about that one.
Okay, we'll move on. Sorry,
That was,
mate.
to be honest, that was a quality goal. The long ball from De Boer and the way he controlled that ball.
Yeah.
Which
No,
was
Johnny's
just a-
right. We don't need to move on. We don't need to talk about
Which
that. We
I
can
know who
move on.
cost Argentina that game. Well, I think anyway. I think,
Ortega.
yes.
Why is that, Adasi?
Well, the game was tied at 1-1.
Yeah.
Netherlands down to 10 men after Newman getting sent off. And then Ortega's in the box, takes a dive, Yapstam didn't touch him. Van der Sar has a bit of a word with Ortega and the height difference. Ortega just gets up, headbutts Van der Sar. Van der Sar made it look more dramatic than it was. But 2 yellow cards, one for the dive and one for the headbutt. So who knows, if he stayed on the field, would Argentina have won that game?
I think we're twisting the knife into the old blue.
Well, we
Johnny.
never know.
Another what if,
We
some
would never know.
what ifs
You
we
can
have.
hear the sadness and bitterness in Johnny's voice, can't you, mate?
It's a shame because
Look,
Ortega was another player, France 98, who
If
was
we're talking
very
about
good.
teams, like, to me, the Argentina 98, together with the 06 team, probably the best teams that Argentina fielded in the World Cup. That's including missing Redondo from the lineup.
Mm.
So everyone
Wow,
knows
yeah.
about
from 98,
yeah, Passarella, the coach, wanting players in the national team for Argentina to get rid of earrings and cut the hair. The two players who said no, fuck you, Redondo and Claudio Caniggia. So they said no, we're not cutting our hair, and they didn't play in the World Cup. At that time, Redondo is possibly the best midfielder in the world,
Yeah,
playing for Real
just won the
Madrid.
Champions League with Real
And you
Madrid
can
that
tell
year.
me the year he's had a Real Madrid there. Yeah, Adasi.
Yeah, he won the Champions League that year.
But in saying that, Argentina is another team that you look at the lineup and you can possibly name every single player and you know who they are and where they've been. So you got Ayala, you got young Crespo, Batistuta, Simeone,
Zanetti,
Gallardo,
Veron.
Veron.
Crespo was young as well at the time.
Yeah.
Ortega, he had a good tournament.
Zanetti was good. Ortega, like it's a team where you look at it and you go, how did this team not make it further?
If I can ask you, Johnny, what do you think from a tactical and from a team perspective? What do you think was lacking, or what area in the team that you think was lacking to really put you guys over the edge?
I don't know if there's anything lacking.
Did you need like a real creative talisman? Did you need someone better on the wing?
But the thing
What do you
is
reckon?
creative. You got Ortega there.
Yeah.
You got Gallardo coming off the bench.
Yep.
In the midfield, you got a strong midfield. Like I said, it's one of those things. Like if that Holland game went Argentina's way,
Sure.
you don't know what the next step would be. Like against Brazil,
Fair
you don't
enough,
know what's
yeah.
going to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's same thing. Like if the ball went, and then we'll go talk about the 2014 World Cup final against
Claudio
Germany.
Lopez as well, remember him?
Yeah,
He
he
was
played for
good.
Valencia. The 2014 World Cup final, if Higuain scored
Good.
that goal, if
Mhm.
Messi's kick went a metre to the left, we'll be talking about a whole different Argentina. So, was anything lacking? Look, to me, the 06 team was better
Yep.
for Argentina,
Mhm.
but the 98 team, without a doubt, is up there as one of the best in regards to names, strengths, and stuff like that. When we talk in teams as well, we can't go past the England team.
Yeah,
England. What's another team that you look at the lineup and you go, you know this, I know this, I know that. Batsy,
Yeah.
Beckham, Shearer, Cole, Sample, like
Young
Campbell.
Michael Owen, Sheringham, Sol Campbell at the back, and David Seaman in goals.
So yeah, that's a strong English team, who surprisingly couldn't even finish top in the group. Why do you think that is, Adasi?
Yeah, that group, they started off in 2-0 win over Tunisia. Bit of crowd trouble leading up to that game with the English and Tunisian fans. England won that game 2-0. And then they lost that second game to Romania. They were down 1-0, then Michael Owen came off the bench, scored the equaliser, and then just towards the end, Dan Petrescu came in and scored towards stoppage time, won the game for Romania, and effectively won the group. And England had to go into that last game as Colombia to win, and they won it 2-0. David Beckham scoring that free kick.
That was a
But-
fantastic free kick.
It was, yeah,
You got to give it to him, mate.
it was. And Darren Anderton, that first goal, if you've seen it in that game, cracking finish as well. And yeah, they had to win that game. They did, but the other game, Romania got that draw against Tunisia, which meant that Romania finished top, and England finished second, which meant they had a date with Argentina. So they had that big clash already, that second round clash, and what a game that was. That leads us. That should one of the games of the tournament, especially that first half.
Look, that was my next question. What do you think were the matches of the tournament? To me, the biggest standout, apart from the final maybe, is that England-Argentina game. Because of the history, because of the Falklands, because of Maradona, because it's the first game since the Hand of God game, I think it lived up to its expectation in regards to scores, in regards to gameplay, in regards to controversy, in regards to, I think it had everything. In my opinion, it was the best game of the tournament. I don't know about you guys.
No, I think I agree with that too. Like, it was a tie game. It was excellent. Like, I agree with every point you said. And it has the famous controversy with Mr. David Beckham. Adasi, what do you think about that particular incident there?
Yeah, he was public enemy number one after that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Look, did he fuck up? Maybe. Was it worth a red card? Look,
Probably not worth a red card.
Half of me saying no.
But half of you saying...
My brain is saying no. My heart is saying yes. Thank you, Simeone.
Not worth a red card, no.
He was a big devil when he went back to England, wasn't he? He was smashed.
The papers,
100%,
papers killed him, literally. And but that game was all what stood out. The first two goals were penalties. Batistuta, then Shearer took classic number 9 scoring.
Yeah.
And then Michael Owen, 18-year-old at the time, burst through that run through from halfway.
What a goal.
Team. Had Scholes on his right, but decided to go his own way.
Yeah.
That was what put him on the map.
So, Johnny...
but then the Argentina's equaliser, that was just as good as well. Don't even talk about it.
You said the name Scholes. Scholes, to me, is the best midfielder in English history. To me, he's better than Lampard, he's better than Gerrard, he's better than Bobby Charlton.
Wow, better than Bobby Charlton.
To me, Beckham's not even up there. to me, Scholes is the greatest midfielder in English history. That's my opinion, anyway. So that's another name I forgot when mentioning the English players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a goal! I mean, that's an iconic goal as well in the World Cup.
The Zanetti one?
No, the Michael Owen.
Yeah.
Michael Owen
yeah.
one, like for a young kid to do that, to enter the world stage, making that much noise was amazing.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you, Johnny, as someone who had like two of the greatest goals in that World Cup being scored against them, what would you think is a better goal, Bergkamp's or Owen's?
It's tough. Which kid do you love more? I don't know.
Owen, because eventually Argentina won that game.
No, look, if I had to pick one, fuck, it's hard, but I'd probably say Owen.
Wow, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, Bergkamp, I think it's because Bergkamp had us accustomed to doing things like that over and over again in the Premier League, maybe, and we know the quality that Bergkamp can deliver. But for Owen, like I said, such a young kid to come into the stage by doing that in such a big stage, like such a big game, and then going on to winning the Ballon d'Or a few years later. Yeah, it was an important game. I'll go with the Owen goal.
Fair enough. I think you can make an argument for both goals.
100%.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. His age and that inexperience to come in and just do a score like that does tip it over the edge.
Yeah. But it's all, as I mentioned, that goal from Zanetti to make it 2-2 just before half time. That was quality too. Like that's straight out of training ground.
You know what? I was thinking about that not long ago.
That was just
apart from that goal in World Cup history, and to be honest, even now in football history, it's very hard to find orchestrated goals like that. That it's just like drawing board, like whiteboard.
Yeah,
goals
no,
out of there.
Doesn't happen very often, does it?
No.
Yeah, for that to happen in such an important game as well. Like,
no, that was cool.
I remember, like, personal memory for me was, correct me if I'm wrong here, FIFA World Cup '98 encyclopedia. But
that's not true.
Are you sure?
But the Argentina, the first penalty goal was early on in the game.
Yes.
I remember when I first came to Australia, so the World Cup was '98, I came in '97, so it was a year in Australia. I remember waking up my dad, because it was early on the game, and saying, penalty for us, early on in the game. So then Batistuta scoring that to make it 1-0.
Yeah.
Look, that's a very that's a big and important game.
Just watching that in the cold wintry morning. I was watching that with my brothers and rugged up. It was Just so many memories of that. A great
Yeah?
game as well. Yeah.
You know, I find it interesting. Like for you, Adasi, would you say that your love of football first started with your brothers?
Yeah, I'd say because we'd play the game at home.
Yeah.
In the
And-
park, in the inside the house. I'd get oven mitts and gardening gloves, pretend I'll be a goalkeeper inside the house. And just things like that. Getting the ball was just literally around the house.
And Johnny, for you, would you say it was your dad?
Yeah, look, it's culture. Like growing
Yeah.
up in Argentina, I was telling the boys before the '94 World Cup, the Argentina versus Greece happened while I was at school. Classes actually stopped. They got every single student into the hall, and they showed us the game. They knew that if they didn't do that, we weren't going to school. So
Well, you're right.
the whole school was into the hall. We watched Argentina beat Greece 4-0. So it's a cultural thing, and yes, my dad was a big part
I
of
think culture as well.
Yeah.
Being from the Middle East, football's the sport, and it's with you for life.
Now, I'll ask you boys, but I'm pretty sure Darcy will probably remember this more than Akram.
Yeah.
Which groups do you think were the toughest?
Oh.
Was there a group of death in the '98 World Cup?
There was supposedly one. It was Group D. It
that-
was Spain, Nigeria, Bulgaria, and Paraguay.
Uh-huh.
And at the time, Spain were a strong side leading up to that tournament. And they had the young Raul, had Morientes, Fernando Hierro, Zubizarreta in goals. Alfonso was by Luis Enrique. They had a quality side. Spain's always a quality team. Nigeria as well, leading on from their second round finish from USA '94 and also winning the gold medal at Atlanta Olympics '96.
Against Argentina in the final.
Yeah, and Brazil beating the semis as well. They had a great team as well. And Bulgaria had the kind of aging team of Bulgaria, but still the experience of Stoichkov, Kostadinov, Balakov, Lechkov still there. And Paraguay, led by the goalkeeper, Jose Luis Chilavert.
He won best goalkeeper in the world at '98.
Yeah, he had a great tournament.
Yeah.
That group, they'd say that was a group of death. And the surprise thing about it was the favourite Spain got knocked out.
That's true. Nigeria topped the group, surprisingly.
And that's another the game I remember the most is Spain versus Nigeria.
All right, Adasi.
That sticks in my memory.
Adasi,
as well.
your first challenge.
Sure.
Let's see if you can name every scoreline from this group. First game was Paraguay against Bulgaria. How did it finish?
0-0, and that was one of the boringest games of the tournament. The only highlight,
Fuck with that, he even gives you commentary.
The highlights. Two things out of that. The first red card of that tournament was in that game for Bulgaria. Nankov, I think it was.
Come on, man.
And
There's nothing for guys. There's nothing in front of him. He's just using his fucking brain. I've got papers. I don't know if I've got papers in my research.
Man, this is like yesterday. And then Chilavert stepping up, taking a free kick, almost scoring.
Of course he was. He's a fucking legend.
He took a left foot curler, almost behind the top corner, and then tipped over by the keeper.
All right, second game, Spain against Nigeria. You touched on this.
Oh yeah, one of the best games of the tournament. One of my favourite moments of that tournament, and that was Nigeria winning 3-2. A Sunday Elise goal. Just Hierro heads the ball out, and then Sunday Elise just comes in, fires a rocket of a shot. Zubizarreta couldn't keep it out.
All right, Johnny.
All right,
Give him a hard one, mate. Give him a hard
Nigeria
one.
against Bulgaria.
Nigeria 1-0.
Spain, Paraguay.
0.
Nigeria, Paraguay.
3-1 Paraguay.
Why? How did they win that game?
Well, Nigeria had already topped the group by then, and so I think they just didn't. They'd come first no matter what.
The motivation was down.
Win,
for
lose
it.
or draw,
Yeah.
come first. They wanted it more. It was 1-1 at the stage, but Paraguay came out 1-3-1. And the other game, same time, Spain was playing Bulgaria. Spain won 6-1.
This tournament's over 20 years older, Darcy.
22.
Yes, thank you for the specific.
When's your anniversary? Do you remember that, or you just remember? or you just remember Friends 98?
Can't
He
forget
doesn't
that.
remember how to get home, man.
Can't forget that. But I remember that Spain winning 6-1, and I remember towards the end they scored the 6th goal, and I think Spain knew the result of the other game, and they're like, "We're not going to make it. We're out." So it meant nothing. But yeah, so that was a big headline of Spain not making it out of the group. They had a quality side too. 20-year-old Raul was there. Morientes was young. Luis Enrique.
Did you go to school at all when this tournament was on?
I did. I don't know how I made it out waking up almost every morning watching the game.
I think you were asleep during school, though. That's
Probably.
why.
Probably it's happened a few times over the years with the World Cups and Euros and stuff.
Any other matches to stand out for you guys? We touched on the England one. We touched on this one.
There was just a lot of matches. I think Italy, Chile, the first game, Roberto Baggio scoring a penalty. 4 years on. 4 years on.
Yeah.
That's it.
4 years on from his missing USA '94.
How would you rate Italy's performance in this World Cup?
They weren't too bad.
I think it's a mixed one. I think Italy, for the most part, talent-wise, didn't have the most inspiration, especially their midfield. I think they played and we touched on attack versus defense and that kind of stuff. I think they came in with a lot of caution, playing real defense. I think Roberto Baggio was the only kind of source of inspiration for creativity in that side. I think he acquitted himself very well, especially after '94. Didn't exactly make up for the '94, but went
Still to score a penalty.
He scored another penalty in the World Cup, didn't he?
He scored in a shootout against France in the quarterfinal. But
so he kind of made up for the '94.
Their standout for Italy in that World Cup was Christian Vieri. 5 goals.
The Australian.
Yeah.
Could have played for Australia. We ended up getting his lesser talented brother, Max.
Christian Vieri, the Australian from Prewood High School. 5
goals in the tournament. He had a great tournament. The quality of the goals he scored was amazing.
To be honest, World Cup '98 really is known for the strikers, aren't they? Batistuta,
Shearer,
Vieri, Ronaldo, Raul,
Schuka,
Trezeguet.
Henry.
They were up and coming.
They were up and coming, but I mean, Henry scored like 3 goals or so.
Yeah, 3.
Who were the main strikers for France then?
Their main striker was Stefan Givache. He scored no goals in the tour. He's like the holding player, kind of like the.
He's like the Olivier
Giroud.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like Giroud.
Yeah, and Christophe Dugarry was a striker as well. He played as well. He got injured in the tournament.
Biggest surprise or biggest upset in the whole World Cup? I would have to put my hand up and say maybe Norway beating Brazil.
Yeah, that was a bit of controversy in that one. Brazil in that game, like Nigeria, topped the group going into the game. They took the lead against Norway, who had to win. And if Norway had won, they'd gone through, regardless of the other game. And Brazil took the lead. Norway equalised, and then towards the end, Norway got a penalty. They were talking about whether it was a penalty. It was a shirt pull on Tore-Andre Flo, the Norwegian striker, playing for Chelsea at the time. And they had to slow it down so many times. They saw the shirt pull. They got the penalty. Norway scored. They won the game. And very unlucky for Morocco. They beat Scotland 3-0 in the other game. And they thought they were going through. That Brazil were leading. It was a draw in the other game. And then they find out that Norway scored at the end. And that was devastating. And I felt really bad for Morocco. They had a really good tournament. And they deserved to go through. But it's just one of those things that...
In terms of upsets, Johnny, would you say, especially prior to the World Cup actually beginning, would you say France winning the World Cup against Brazil itself was a massive upset?
Look, the history proves that the host nation always have a plus.
Yeah.
And looking back in history, that French team was, you had Thuram, you had Desailly, you had Deschamps, you had Blanc. Zidane, you had Blanc, you had Barthez, you had
the defense,
young Henry, young Trezeguet,
young Vieira,
Lizarazu, like yes and no.
But this was
and no, because Brazil had the player of the tournament, and I think we can all agree here that the player to watch throughout the tournament was Ronaldo.
Of course,
the real Ronaldo, not the gay one that's playing now. Yeah,
CR7, in other words.
Yeah. So everyone expected Ronaldo to step up and be the big hero. That did happen 4 years later, and there's a bit of controversy about the final, and we'll go into that a bit later on. But going back to your question, yes and no. I mean, there are 5 or 6 teams that can always win a World Cup.
True, but this was a nation that didn't qualify for the last 2 World Cups prior to '98.
That's right.
France. So going in, I don't think they were heavily favoured at all to even go past the quarterfinals necessarily.
Yeah, could say that. I mean, France and Italy was a tough matchup. It could have gone either way. I think once they won that game, they thought, wow, they had the belief that they could.
Yeah, but that's the thing about every World Cup, isn't it? Is once it starts and it evolves, everyone's expectations do start changing. But from the beginning of the World Cup, I don't think anyone was going in with France really being thought of as favourites. Or anywhere close.
Well, let's not go further than the France-Paraguay game.
Okay.
It's a new law. Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it a golden goal or last-minute goal? Or?
Golden goal by Laurent Blanc.
Was that like
the first golden goal ever?
Yeah.
against fucking Chile.
And Paraguay, man, they dug deep in that game, man.
Yeah.
And I remember at the full-time whistle, they were just devastated. That was so close.
What are your thoughts on the golden goal, guys? Is that a good rule? Bad rule? Glad we all got rid of it.
Well, it's better than the silver goal that lasted. I'll tell you that silver goal lasted for about a year or two, and they canned that.
Silver
Well,
goal.
the golden goal, yeah. Look, it's whoever scores wins.
Many sports have some variation of a golden goal. Do you think it was good, or are you happy that we went back to the full extra time?
Look, I like the suspense of the extra time.
Yeah.
And I think you might get a fairer winner, maybe.
And maybe like the
such a thing.
suspense of looking down onto the possibility of penalties coming up. That suspension also.
Look, and then there's the whole argument of are penalties even fair? Like penalties fair, but then again, how do you decide?
And it shows how coaches, how they deal with situations of extra time, what their tactics are, what their subs are going to be if they had any.
I do like the new rule of having an extra sub if you go into extra time.
Yeah.
I think from a player welfare perspective, it is a common sense kind of rule.
Yeah. Any other underdogs? You mentioned Morocco. Any other teams that you thought did well? Like, for example, Chile made it to the second stage.
3 draws, yeah, they were good. They were Damarano and Salas, and that iconic kit of the Reebok sign. Remember that?
3 draws.
Yeah.
New Zealand did the same thing a few years later.
And Denmark. I love to mention Denmark. They did real, particularly that game in the second round against Nigeria. Nigeria were favourites, heavy favourites.
Yep.
They topped their group, and Nigeria, I think, went in the game too confident, and Denmark just came out of the blocks and they smacked them 4-1.
Laudrup brothers?
Laudrup brothers, Michael, Brian Laudrup, Ebby Sand, great players.
Denmark against who?
Nigeria in the second round, 4-1.
Second round.
And then another quality game.
You're just doing some fact checking there, Johnny.
Another quality game.
Yeah, I'm trying to prove Adasi wrong.
No,
You're trying to get him wrong.
And
eh?
then that game against Brazil, the quarterfinal, that was a great game. Denmark could have won that
Yeah,
one.
right.
You should make up a stat, see if you'll realise if it's fake or not.
Fair enough.
Denmark, that game against Brazil in the quarterfinal, that was a quality match. They could have won that one. And
So World Cups a lot of the time are made up by moments or goals or situations we remember. We mentioned the headbutt, Ortega. We mentioned the Beckham Simeone red card. We mentioned a couple of them. Any other moments that stand out for you guys?
The Dennis Bergkamp goal against Argentina.
Yep.
Fantastic goal. So just going back to that one. Zidane's 2 other goals in the final were just amazing.
Yeah, look, I think Zidane, he was always a great player. Even in that stage, was he at Juventus at the time? Yeah. So he's still an international star, but that final, he didn't have the greatest of tournaments.
He hadn't scored a goal.
No, but don't forget,
He got a red card
against Saudi Arabia. They're stomping on that player, and he missed 2 games.
He got a red card. He missed 2 games. So we think, a lot of us think, 98 World Cups, he done scored 2 goals in the final. What a player!
Yeah,
he didn't have the greatest of tournaments. Unlike opposite of what happened in the 06 World Cup, where he had an amazing tournament, and in the final he got sent off.
But I think from Italy, that quarter-final onwards, he started to show his
quality.
But that red card could have changed everything for him.
Any other moments you could think of with Adasi?
I could think plenty. USA versus Iran, that game. A lot of people talked about that.
The tension there.
The
was
political
crazy.
twist on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that was probably the most politically tense game since Argentina?
It was,
in
but
86,
FIFA made it that day, the tournament, FIFA Fair Play Day. So what people remember from that was the 2 players from both squads getting together, embracing arm in arm with photos and exchanging.
Who won?
Iran 2-1. I remember that game. I wasn't going to miss it. I was like, yep, I'm watching that. And
who scored?
It was Estili,
I don't know.
Matavikia, and then USA scored one at the end. Yeah.
Who? Come on, man.
Regis or something.
Regis or something.
Doesn't
sound that confident.
But it was 2-1 Iran.
So this is a World Cup where both Croatia and Yugoslavia were represented in the World Cup. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. So Croatia, the first time as an independent nation. First time they qualified as well.
Yeah. So how was Yugoslavia? I don't even know how Yugoslavia.
Oh, they lost to Holland in the second round. They
Sorry, who did you say scored for Iran?
So Estili,
Yep.
Matavikia.
And who scored for the US?
Was it Regis?
No, Richards was in the team though.
He was in the team.
But he didn't score. McBride scored.
McBride. Okay.
Yes.
One wrong.
That's right. He must have got a yellow.
Suck shit at that.
Get out of here.
You're useless.
I said scorers, not scorers.
Where was the game played, dickhead? All right.
France.
Yeah. Look, it was.
They talked a lot about that game. It was the group stages. What else? Mexico twice. They were down 2 games. They were down 2-0 against Belgium and Holland. They came back to draw twice. I remember that. Luis Hernandez, the guy with the long blonde hair.
Yep.
He had a good tournament. Oliver Bierhoff as well. I remember Germany, Klinsmann and Bierhoff up front for Germany.
Another fantastic set of strikers.
Yeah, but they just couldn't keep up with Croatia in that quarterfinal. I think as well Germany were aging at that
What about
time.
Jamaica in the World Cup?
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun seeing
They
them.
even got a win.
Yeah, against Japan. But they lost 5-0 to Argentina. Batistuta.
Hat-trick.
Yeah, the first.
The only hat-trick in the World Cup.
Yeah, and also he scored 2 hat-tricks in 2 World Cups. Remember '94 against
Greece. Maradona scored the other one.
Yeah, and then against Jamaica 4 years later. He had a good tournament, Batistuta.
Yeah. Well, we didn't win it. Brazil had a strong team as well. Apart from Ronaldo that we mentioned as well. It was a strong lineup, wasn't it?
Can't
It's
that.
a Lipton team, man.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, when
Tell me about it. Is Tafarel still in goals?
Yes, he was.
Cafu,
Yeah.
Roberto Carlos.
Yes.
Dunga was still playing.
Dunga was there. Leonardo,
Bebeto came off the bench.
Bebeto, Junior Baiano, Aldair,
Danielson.
He was at the time. I think he was maybe a bit after the World Cup, but before he was one of the most expensive signings in the.
Yeah, I think it was just after,
Betis,
right? I think
Yeah,
it was just
great dribble of the ball. Yeah, Ronaldo, Arnon Rivaldo. Don't forget about him. He had a good showing at the tournament.
Was he at Barcelona yet or not yet?
Yeah, he was a
No,
Yeah? Cool.
And just reading up the previews in the tournament, the magazines, Brazil were clear favourites, and the commercials and the Nike at the airport. That was just what you remember. That's a nostalgic that commercial, and they were just heavy favourites to win it. And then
it wasn't just the results, the style of play. They
started off
beautiful.
slowly against Scotland. I remember the first game, but then they just slowly built up their rhythm. They got better the way they were playing.
Exciting, beautiful.
What was the score against Scotland?
2-1 Brazil.
Okay.
Just checking.
First game of the tournament, and you can't forget that.
What was the group? You know when it's that group where the boring group, like you don't really care about
A
it.
bit of a disappointing group.
The group that you say, you know what, tonight I can sleep in. Tonight I am not waking up
Adasi
to watch
doesn't
the
understand
game.
that kind of language.
Probably Group C. Probably.
Who was in that?
It was France, Denmark, South Africa, and Saudi Arabia.
So France were friends with the clear favourites.
France are clear favourites. Denmark were favourite to come second. That's what happened.
South Africa and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
How did they go when they faced each other?
It was 2-2. There was 3 penalties that game.
Was there?
Yeah.
It's close.
3 penalties.
He even gives us the commentary. Fuck, dude.
That's feels like yesterday. Feels like
No,
yesterday.
it doesn't.
It does.
All
It's
right.
because he just watched the World Cup yesterday. That's why.
Players of the tournament. Like if you had to pick top 3, top 4, I don't know.
Ooh, boy.
Whatever. Just tell me it's players of the tournament.
go?
Who would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, look, Arnon Ronaldo is the first one that you think of. Dennis Bergkamp. I think Zinedine Zidane has to at least have an honourable mention because of what he did in the final. Davos Suker, we said. I think Gabriel Batistuta does deserve it. What do you think, Adasi? Top 3? That's a hard one, John.
No, just in general, just players, like you just mentioned.
I'll add Christian Vieri.
Yeah.
He 5 goals. The quality of his goals were fantastic. I'll say as well, I think Michael or Brian Naldrup, they both played really well. And for Holland, Philip Cocu, one of the unsung heroes for Holland. He was everywhere. He did his job in midfield. He helped out in defence. He played a key part in Holland getting all the way to the semi-final stage. He had a good tournament. And Ortega was doing well until that brain explosion he had against Holland. He was doing quite well.
He had a good World Cup until
Yeah,
then, right?
yeah. Michael Owen, 18-year-old, 2 goals coming on scoring.
Yeah, I was going to mention.
Marcelo Salas didn't do too bad as well for Chile. Luis Hernandez for Mexico. Yeah, they were one of some of the standout players, I'd say.
The 98 All-Star team for the World Cup was Bartes in goals, Chilavert backup keeper, Desailly, Frank de Boer, Carlos Gamara from Paraguay, Roberto Carlos, Turam,
Yeah.
Edgar Davids, another player that we mentioned,
He came out big.
Rivaldo, Dunga, Lodrob, Zidane, so everyone that we mentioned,
Hmm.
Bergkamp, Ronaldo, Schuka. Yeah, look, I think Schuka, Owen, the names that you don't hear every day are the things, the ones that stand out, like the Paolo Rossi of 1982.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that I like to hear. Like, I'm surprised Batistuta mentioned this team as well. He had, like you said, a very good World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go past Romania's haircut as well.
Yeah, that one's. I think they made the bet that if they'd qualify for the second round, they'd dye their hair blonde, and they did that before the game against Tunisia. And then they still kept their hair blonde for the game against Croatia, but didn't work for them. They lost.
Close.
Yeah. It was weird seeing Georgia Hadji, I think, with blonde hair.
All right, that final, Adasi, you might know more than us. Maybe you know Akram as well.
Mm.
Ronaldo, what happened to his health? What happened to the final? What's the story behind that? What's
You
the
obviously
rule?
were there, so let's hear
Well, I
it.
was only 10 at the time, so I didn't have. There was no internet access much at the time, and
What do you know about it?
all I know was that, to be honest, before the game, I didn't know what was wrong with him. You know, being young at the time, I didn't know what was going on with it, how he was out of the team and then back in it at the last minute. All I know is that Brazil just weren't themselves in that final. And it was such a shame. Such a great tournament, the best World Cup in my opinion, but let down by a final which Brazil were not at their best and was just one-sided. And it was a real shame. And you could tell Brazil just were not at the races. And Ronaldo had that one chance to score, like just outside the 6-yard box. Ronaldo got the ball, shot it at goal. And Bartes not only stopped it, but he held onto the ball. It was a great save.
Mm.
And you could just tell after that, like, this isn't Brazil's night.
But what happened in the days leading up to the final? There's a lot of rumours about epilepsy fits. There's a lot of rumours about everything.
Roberto Carlos was saying that it was. I found this after that he had a seizure. He had a fit in the hotel, and
Is that true? Or?
that's what they're saying. It wouldn't surprise me.
There's a lot of rumour and innuendo that's happened
Yeah.
about this. You know, suspicions that R9 was struggling with the pressure surrounding the tournament, seizures, issues like that. What was clear is that from the very beginning of the game, you could tell he wasn't himself. He didn't want to be there. And the whole Brazilian team, just from their attitude, they just looked like the wind was taken out of their sails. Sadly, really, because what a final it could have been.
Yeah.
Look, we know about his
Most
knees problems and his injuries,
Hostless holders. Yeah.
but this is a little bit of a different
But
story.
with that Brazil side, like the heavy frame. I remember Lady watching it in '97. They won the Copa America, and against Bolivia in the final. They had a great tournament throughout. And then the Confederations Cup later that year, where they smashed the Socceroos 6-0 in the final. Ronaldo and Romario scoring a hat-trick each. And then Romario got injured just before the tournament began. And I just wonder, like, another what-if moment. If he played in that World Cup, would he made a big difference? And I think he would have. That was such a great strike force.
Romario Ronaldo?
Yeah, Roro show they call it.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, if he played, my goodness, they could have maybe helped him get through that final and maybe won him that World Cup.
There was a lot of what ifs that came out of
Yeah.
this World Cup, wasn't there?
Like,
There was a
yeah.
lot of interesting things that were occurring.
Yeah, like it just makes you wonder whether if he played, how really good Brazil would have been.
Look, the best team doesn't always win the tournament.
Because
right?
it's over a short amount of time. And
Yeah, I get it. Do we think that France is a fair winner or a just winner?
Oh wow, that is a real tough one considering the circumstances that followed Brazil. I think were they lucky? There's a fair amount of luck that came into that final with.
But
with
I'm
what
sorry, but do you
circumstances
need
Brazil came into it?
leading up to the final?
Do you need a bit of luck to be a World Cup champion?
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to
Do you
say.
need
yeah.
sometimes the draw to go your way? Do you need the ball to hit this side of the post or that side of the post? Do you need certain referee calls to go your way?
Absolutely.
Ask
yeah.
Germany about the 1990 World Cup final where they had a bit of FIFA luck.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That special brand of luck, eh? No, but exactly. Like I think there was a bit of luck. I don't think their win should be invalid because of what happened surrounding Brazil. I think it was still a real courageous effort for a nation that wasn't present in the 94 or the 1990 World Cup. So I think that was a big achievement. And, you know, when you're talking about the 98 World Cup and you're talking about France's win, you do have to talk about the political tensions that were coming out of the nation of France around this time. There was a lot of division within the nation itself. And there was a lot of pressure on this team to show the unity and solidarity. This was a real racially diverse French team.
Well, let's look at what happened 4 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that couple of few reasons for that why they choked badly 4 years later.
So does it make it the 98 World Cup win even a bit sweeter because of what happened 4 years later?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, wouldn't you?
I would say that as good as that France 98 team was defensively, especially, they conceded 2 goals.
Yeah.
One of them was a penalty.
All-time great defenders involved.
Awesome.
Blanc, Desailly, Thuram.
Yeah, and Lizarazu and Barthez was in great form.
Absolutely.
Their defence, I think, won them that World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the midfield. Because the strikers...
So would you say they're just winners? I mean, it's a tough question to ask.
I'd say they were fair.
It's a tough
fair.
answers, but...
I can't argue past them. I mean, they had an easy group. You know, they fought really hard against Paraguay. They got past Italy, another tough game.
Well, what's your opinion on Johnny? Would you classify him as a just winner?
Look, it's a tough question to ask, like I said, but you can't argue against it. I mean, first of all, did they win it? Yes. Second of all, on paper, are they a good team? Yes. Did they win? Did they deserve to win every game they've played? Yes. So in order to be champions, you need to win against the best, and they've won and deserve to win every game they've played. Their toughest game was probably which one? Paraguay, where they went to golden goal.
Yeah, Paraguay and Italy as well was tough.
Yeah, and in Italy as well. So it's hard to argue against that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I still think it's funny because I still think the Euro 2000 side, that France side that won that tournament, was the better side. That was
peak France.
Yeah.
Like,
and we might have a different podcast show altogether on the teams that didn't win tournaments that deserve to win tournaments. Because I think, like I said, the 98 Argentina, the 06 Argentina,
Netherlands,
the 2 teams. Netherlands every fucking year.
Every year.
Germany.
Spain. Let's talk about the Spain give me 30 seconds of the Spain performance of this World Cup.
I think that win against Bulgaria and the last one 6-1 meant nothing because the first 2 games they didn't take anything from it. Like the game against Nigeria was a classic match, lost 3-2, they were up 2-1. But then against Paraguay, you expected them to win that one. But they had so many chances, but Jose Luis Silva was in great form in that game. And in the end, that cost them. Too much it. And then that's another thing. Spain's always had these years of underachievement. And this was another one on the list, unfortunately. They had some good players coming through. Raul Morente young at the time. But
absolutely. And why do you think it is for this particular World Cup? Was it the political divisions that were coming out of Spain, or was it just a bit more bad luck, or was it just some of these players were a bit too young at the wrong time?
Yeah, some of these players were young at the time, but I think your political issues in Spain have always been around. They've always lingered, so that's always
kind of held back.
It's always going to be there.
Yeah,
they're just so divided in every region there,
which makes the 2010 World Cup win very, very
that periods of success they had.
Absolutely,
yeah. I think it's just another one of those things of underachievement that they went through, and that their first 2 games cost them, and then that draw against Paraguay. Simple as that.
Fair enough. Any other moments or teams or goals that you want to bring up from the World Cup?
Oh, moments, I'd say, like Holland versus Yugoslavia. That game, the second round, was another tough game. It was 1-1. Yugoslavia the penalty. Mijatovic, who scored the winner for Real Madrid in the final a month before that.
Yep.
Steps up to take the penalty, smacks it off the bar, and then towards the end of the match, David's shot outside the box weaves through everyone into the corner. That moment sticks out for me. I think for France 98, like the 2 things that let it down for me with the final, unfortunately, was too one-sided.
Yep.
Host versus holders. It was a dream final, they call it.
Yeah.
It was just a shame to see, and not to see Brazil at their best on the biggest stage, and Ronaldo to see him the state that he was in. And I think as well, for personally, Australia missing out on that World Cup. I think that was so close to being there.
Yeah, look, we didn't touch on that.
Oh man,
that Iran game.
Like, we're talking about the
Iran
tournament
game.
itself, but
Yeah.
the qualification of the part of the France
Yeah.
'98, man, that's the most heartbreaking moment in Australian football to this day. I think.
They deserve to be there. That's what hurt the most.
Oh yeah, they were cruising. They could have been there, France, and been part of the whole thing, part of the whole festival of football that month in June in '98. But if they were there, man, they would have topped it off. I think.
Yeah. Anything else to add on the tournament?
No, I mean, I think we've covered so much, and I think we've covered all each other's, what we all think would be the most important talking points within the World Cup. Just think it's one of those World Cups, though, that had so much consequences that occurred after it. So many transfers that it came after it. Many of these players that we're referring to, the Turams, the Desais, they all moved into big clubs in the next few years after that. Lilian Thuram was still part of Parma, moved off into some bigger clubs and things like that. So I just think it was one of those big World Cups that changed a lot of players' legacies. R9, all of a sudden, after that World Cup was the disappointment and the knee injuries, was looking at the 2002 World Cup with a lot of pressure to finally succeed on the promise that he was delivering. Zidane all of a sudden had this pressure of being perhaps the number one player. I believe he won the Player of the Year that year after that. Yeah. So there was players that came out of that World Cup with a lot of pressure. But besides that, Johnny, I think we've covered just about everything.
Who won the play of the tournament?
Would have been Zidane.
He remembers every goal scored,
yeah,
but he's not sure.
The awards, individual awards.
Do you remember?
I believe it was
taking a stab.
I believe it was Zidane.
Over one performance?
I think it would have been over from the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think
because the red card in the two games he missed, but from the quarterfinal onwards.
Best player of the tournament was won by Ronaldo.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
4 goals, 4 goals, but unfortunately, he just that's a final.
Best young player was won by Michael Owen.
Yeah.
Best goalkeeper, Fabien Barthez. Yeah. Fair play award, England and France.
Fair play, England
and France.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Like, I really enjoyed this conversation because it's one of those World Cups that was a lot of fun.
I could talk for ages about this tournament, man. Seriously.
Before we go anywhere, I want a bit of an Adasi challenge.
Yeah.
Fire away, mate.
How can you be so confident? It makes me angry.
Makes you angry.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit old as well, so I might forget it.
You cannot have an excuse to figure your wife's birthday, I tell you that much.
Can't forget that.
Alright, let's try to pick up chatty game, one of those games you don't want to get up for in the middle of the night. Jamaica versus Japan.
2-1 Jamaica.
Oh boy.
Cool running, brother, cool running. Alright, Germany against Yugoslavia.
2-2.
Germany against Iran.
Germany 2-0.
Unbelievable.
Alright, Morocco against Scotland.
Morocco 3-0.
Norway against Scotland.
1-1.
But he didn't know who the player of the tournament was.
You don't even hesitate. South Africa against Saudi Arabia.
2-2.
Come on, what else do I have here in my paperwork? This is disgusting. Alright. Romania against Colombia.
1-0 Romania.
Almost hesitated.
Yeah, you saw a bit of doubt in there in his eyes.
He didn't hesitate, he almost hesitated. Romania against Tunisia.
1-1.
Who the fuck watches that game? Like, seriously, who the fuck watches that game at all to even remember that score?
There's highlights, man. There's highlights as well. So, or short.
Romania against Tunisia. I don't think the Romanians even watched that game.
They had blonde hair that game.
Come on, man. Alright.
You must have done a lot of studying for this podcast, right, Adasi? Come on, mate.
I'm telling you, I watched that documentary.
There's something fishy going on.
The documentary in SBS, I watched like 100 times.
Austria against Chile.
1-1.
Far out.
Sorry, guys.
No
All
need
right,
to
Germany
apologise.
against Mexico.
Germany 2-1.
All right, Netherlands against Germany.
That didn't happen.
Fucking hell.
Trick question.
I tried to trick him.
Got me for a second. Got me.
I tried
loved
to
it.
trick him.
Got me.
But I couldn't get him. All right. Thanks for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Pleasure. Thank you for having us.
A little bit of a different one, talking about World Cups. Next week, we will be chatting to an ex-NSL star in Harry Carl. And then, moving on to other maybe World Cups or other topics that we can talk. So thanks, Adasi. Thanks, Zach, for today. And
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Johnny, for having us.
Thanks, Johnny. Always a pleasure being here.
no worries. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.